Well, Ron, I just had a few fun questions for you.
All right.
Before we get into that, I think Corey wanted to take the opportunity to explain why he's in a green velvet jacket. So, Corey.
I don't know why I'm in a green velvet jacket. This looked better than the red one I had originally that my 10-year-old son said I looked like I was going to take his drink order. So, we thought we'd do velvet. He's wearing blue. I'm wearing green. And Rachel was wearing black. So
yes,
awesome.
The velvet Teletubbies.
Yeah, velvet Teletubbies.
Well, I think you guys look great.
I appreciate it.
Well, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple of questions that I was thinking of while I was watching you guys talk. Nothing too complicated. The first one was out of kind of call them the big four, kind of LLM chatbots.
Mm-hmm. Do
you have one that you personally like to use?
That is a great question. Can I take a swig real quick?
Yeah.
ChatGPT and Claude are the two.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have both of them running in parallel. And I do that so they can actually challenge each other. So I ask them the same question, or I take the ChatGPT response, put it into Claude, and see if it refines it or has anything that kind of contradicts it. I do that so I could actually have like a challenger champion in the response. Not for all things, but like really critical things. I do not touch Gronk for several reasons. And Copilot is actually another ChatGPT form for the most part. So, and it's back end and it's embedded in Microsoft. But the two I use the most are Claude and ChatGPT.
That's interesting because Claude is more known for coders, right? Mm-hmm. But do you do any coding with it, or you're just comparing?
Oh, no. The days of coding are long gone.
Yeah.
But I do that because Anthropic, the back end of Claude, has a very do no harm approach. And I want to make sure with a Hippocratic oath to IT and all that, it gives you kind of the, do no harm approach to things as much as possible. So that is the main reason. It's not because my coding days are well behind me.
Okay.
Yeah. I coded in BASIC and Pascal. Okay. So these are things that probably your dad and others have used.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What about Grok? So for me, I've always been ChatGPT, primarily because it was kind of the first to market. Yeah. It became a little sticky because now it's learned kind of what I want. So I'm kind of not stuck on it, but I don't want to go through the cycle of having to kind of train it on, my style and format of things that I want. But Grok, I thought was kind of interesting because it has the Twitter or X data.
Yes.
So it's got a little more real-time data, even though it might not be accurate. You're going to have to validate it, but it has all that real-time info. But when you say for many reasons you don't use Grok, are there kind of a couple kind of key reasons that you avoid it?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I mean, as a Haitian American, at one point I did kind of just dabble in Grok, and I asked about what is Haitian cuisine, and it says I like cats and dogs because that was stated in social media. So it learned, I think, it learns a lot. It's very raw, but it also, I think it kind of pulls out the worst in some of humanity. And I just don't want to kind of fuel that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Plus, also keep in mind, it's learning our ways. And I know it sounds really weird and odd. I'd rather have ChatGPT learn me and Claude as opposed to our friends at X and other places.
No, makes sense. Yeah. I've seen some of those really bad examples, or I should say responses that came out of that.
Yeah.
Another question I had.
Yes, sir.
As for me, I'm kind of interested in some of these new AI tools that came out. So, you have the big four, but all these kind of smaller, more focused software companies are just making really kind of niche tools. Yeah. Like I'll give you an example. One that I use for our marketing is called Lovable AI. It basically allows us to create like landing pages. So I don't know how to code, but traditionally I was kind of stuck in the WordPress kind of building block cadence setup, right? Where I kind of got to drag and drop these preset styles. Whereas this one, I can just tell it what it wants. And I mean, it's incredible. It makes exactly what I want. For you, are there any of those, and maybe there isn't, but are there any of those kind of cool tools that you've played around with that you think are really useful?
Not specifically. It's a great question. As you know, I work at Save the Children nonprofit, and I'm doing my studies. But the one thing that I'm learning about AI is like when you look at your iPhone or your Android, if you're an Android person, nothing wrong with Android users, by the way. The green bubble is not a problem, unless you're on a plane. Is that AI is filling those niches. On your phone, you have all those different apps, and everyone does something really specific and very good. And you can never find one that aggregates it as the best. And I think that's what AI is doing. It's finding those niche players in the right space, and finding those is an issue. Now, what I do, I do look at Claude and I do look at ChatGPT and it says, if I'm looking for something specific that's really good, which tool would I use? And it does give me some of those suggestions. And the last thing I'll say to that is, I think it's absolutely fascinating. If you ask me what's exciting me about is the unknown. It's like the ability to do things where you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to know this, you know that, but actually you get to skip the line a little bit. I'll give you an example. I was in Chongqing. I was in China back in April or May. And if you remember Speed, the social influencer, he was there about a month before me.
Yeah. Oh.
And oh my God, they thought I was Speed's uncle. Actually, they thought I was Speed. Then they thought I was his uncle.
Did they take you to like the to test drive all the Chinese cars and stuff?
I did actually go to the auto show. The Chongqing auto show was there.
It worked out.
It was absolutely awesome. And the cool thing about that is they kept on thinking I was Speed. And every time I was in line for somewhere, you know, what are those little those fluffy things you connect to your bag? Fubus or there's a
Labubus.
Yes.
I didn't know what they were until Corey was.
Well, get an 8-year-old daughter and she'll.
Yeah. Oh my God. But I skipped every line to get a little boo-boo because they thought I was Speed. I was taking pictures with people, signing my name Speed, even though I'm not Speed. It was amazing. For a whole week, I was Speed. But again, AI kind of gives you that jump the line kind of thing. And I think that's the fascinating thing. And part of my studies is about the global South, underserved communities. And what if they had those tools? The cure for cancer could be with some kid down in Brazil who doesn't have the means. I think that is the unlock that we could have. And that's what's exciting.
I mean, it answered what my next question was going to be. I feel like we, obviously great conversation you guys just had, but a lot of it is around like, be careful, right? Like we're excited. Everyone's excited for AI, but you got to be careful with this. But I find it fun sometimes to sit down and be like, what in 10 years from now, is there a specific use case of AI that really excites you the most, right? Like for me, it's like cars, like, you know, Teslas have Grok, you can, which, whether it's Grok or whatever, kind of having that AI assisted in the car where it's like, hey, I'm on my way here. The car already knows what kind of restaurants you like. You're like, I've never been to this town before. Is there a place you recommend? You know, maybe I like to go to dive bars. It's like, hey, are there any good dive bars in this town? And it'll let you know.
But here's some next level stuff here real quick. So at the Chongqing Auto Show, they were talking about this and they're actually doing it. So you'll see you have an autonomous vehicle. And while you're driving around, it's doing it for you. And you're going on a trip for a week. So I go to O'Hare, it drops me off at O'Hare, it automatically turns into a Waymo. It goes out and I get passive income because while I'm gone, it is doing its own thing, I'm getting revenue from that. It knows in 7 days, pick me up at the United terminal, I am back, it becomes Ron's car again. So while I'm gone, it's making me money.
Oh my God.
They're doing that already in parts of China.
I haven't heard that one. I've heard the one where no one's going to own a car because we're all just going to have these autonomous cars driving around.
Yeah.
It's a crazy one.
Yeah.
Are there any other kind of crazy futures you see?
Just cure for cancer, the things that we all know they could hopefully break through. But for me, that's one of the bigger ones. The ability to get passive income, I think is cool, but also just healthcare, the cost of healthcare, all of that, things we've been like struggling with. I'm a capitalist. I went to the University of Illinois, finance and economics. I know the value of capitalism. Like I get it, but we can also do this in a different way. I really think there's an argument. We all want a piece of the pie. Why don't we just make the pie bigger? And why can't AI help us do that? And so I think those are things that are unlocks that we could do. But the biggest concern I have, there's going to be a shift in workflow. Like there's going to be a lot of people, in my opinion, who will be displaced to some degree. How are we going to make sure they get upskilled in this kind of window? And those who are a little bit later in their season journey, what happens to those and what are their next journey is going to be? So there's a lot of great opportunity, but there's some pitfalls if we don't manage this properly.
Are there any, one question I'll ask is, are there any thoughts about the models coming out of China? You talked about that. I've just seen so much that they're able to get, almost as good as ChatGPT, but for a fraction of the cost. And my take is I think it's just going to be commoditized. Like there's going to be a Walmart and there's going to be a Hermes of AI. And maybe the Hermes is going to be for medical purposes, but, most people will just be using the Walmart version.
I don't know this Hermes you speak of. I've never actually, so that's new to me, but thank you. For me, it would be like Tiffany's, right? Lies. But yeah, I agree with that. DeepSeek is one of those that's out there already. It's a cheaper version, lower chip grade, better mathematics. But at the end of the day, we always have data sovereignty concerns. Like at the end of the day, when you use it, are you comfortable with the fact, like TikTok, like is that information being used by China? Are they going to get to know you differently and all that stuff? My take on all that is we've already signed our life away when we sign up for our Gmail account, our Disney Plus account. We've already done this. We go to the airport, we're eyeballing a screen and we're letting us in, and we're like, oh, that was convenient, but I want to save my privacy.
When did that happen? I feel like we didn't sign anything and we just started getting photos taken.
No, Clear is now part of the TSA process.
You can
You can tell the TSA agent I don't want my picture.
But do you want to?
But you got to go to the back room and get interviewed, though.
Too late.
So.
Do you want to wait 30 minutes and take your shoes off?
No.
I think if you opt out of the picture, it means you have to take your shoes off when you go through the metal detector. So
yes.
Yeah.
And then in the back room for additional scans.
So. Not doing it.
Thank you. So you've opted in. Yeah. Retinal scan all day.
Yeah.
I'm in.
This sounds like Sora's copyright opt out here. You have to.
Yeah. Well, is there so I heard, when 5G came out, there was a big race between America and China because they want to be the first one gets 5G up and running, because then you get access to all the data, right? Do you think that you were going to see that? Obviously, I'm sorry, what was it? DeepSeek?
DeepSeek.
That had, I think I remember a few months ago or a year ago, whatever it was. It had about a week there where people were freaking out over it. Like, this thing's awesome.
NVIDIA price went down, everything.
Do you see a similar, I guess, call it arms race to kind of see who's going to come out on top in terms of these LLMs?
Oh, absolutely. It's happening right now. And honestly, geopolitical statement, our ability to help our friends in Saudi Arabia, for example, is us getting there before the other side of the world does.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really intentional. They're going to use our chips and all that stuff. So that's already underway as we speak. And also, when you think about the big, beautiful bill, there's a provision in there that we're not going to talk about responsible AI and DEI, because free capitalist society, we want to move as quick as possible to catch up. But the one thing I was fascinated, going back to my Shanghai trunching trip, I was in a classroom, a 6-year-old was showing me his ability to do mathematics. And I can speak it, but I had a translator in my ear. And then he told me, when I get into an Uber, he wrote the whole algorithm about how it knows who I am and how I want to go from A to B and how that works. And he wrote it on the board. He jokingly dropped the marker, smiled at me, and took a seat. He was 6 years old. He knew how to do that. My son is at Purdue, master's program, graduates next year. He just learned how to do that. He's 24 years old. So there is already an arms race when it comes to education that we're already behind the 8 ball, and we really do need to catch up. Not because it's anti-Chinese or anti-this, it's because we just need to upskill our kids for this world they're coming into. Yeah. They're digital natives. I asked you a question. Do you know Arsenio Hall? Your answer was?
No.
See? That blew me away because I grew up on Arsenio Hall. But again, I have to appreciate the fact that, just different times.
Yeah. And how about, oh, I know. Sorry. Last question. Last question is when it comes to these LLMs.
Yes.
I believe that a lot of AI tools, I don't know the correct terminology, plug into ChatGPT, can kind of use it. But out of the big 4, are these all individually training these LLMs? Are they kind of using the same? I know they're all using crawling the internet.
Yeah.
But are they training these all individually? Is it a mixture of they're kind of sharing what they train? How are they training these?
Well, they're training them. It's different ways they're doing it, but the data sources are almost identical. It's how you interpret the data source. And then this is going to go biblical. How we read the Bible, how I read it, and you read it might be different because you might have been in England and you feel that you could get divorced. If I'm sorry, I'm going religious. And me as Roman Catholic, you can't get divorced. But it's how you read the data. When you read the Bible, I can interpret it a whole different way than you. And that's how these LLMs kind of, how they're coded differently. The algorithm behind it has a different spin to it. But the data source, Grok is coming from almost the same data.
Yeah.
But they have chosen to be a little bit more spicy. So they have, their algorithm is more spicy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get up. I guess that ties into your bias that you were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I think as a salesperson, right? And our company has a big service portfolio, right? So you're selling not a lot of stuff, but there's different avenues you're selling. When it comes to AI, you hear about Agentic versus Generative. I don't even know how to say it. Can you explain what that means? Because I think that's very important on how our customers may use it.
Got it. So real quick, generative AI is kind of what you get when you do ChatGPT, Gronk. You're prompting it, you're asking a question. Say, make me a 10-page dissertation on something. And it just generates it off of your prompt and what it finds on the internet. And your goal is to look at it, And the one thing I'm telling my staff is that you're now the editor-in-chief of your work.
Yeah.
You don't own all the content, but as the editor-in-chief, the final output you have to own. So that's generative AI. And it's prompting and it's kind of fueling your brain on what's out there. Agentic AI is essentially, it's doing it for you. So what's happening is you're training a bot or whatever, and it will actually check your emails, schedule your meetings. Pretty much if your car is autonomous, maybe tell it to go get charged or whatever. It's actually taking action based on your prompt. Generative AI doesn't take action technically.
Okay.
It's giving you new information. Agentic is your agent, so it's doing it on your behalf.
So
where it gets freaky, yes,
Yep.
is that when agentic AI starts talking to other agentic AI, and there's no humans in the loop.
Yep.
And that is already starting to happen. ServiceNow is creating agentic AI, and the idea is it was going to talk to Salesforce agentic AI and an Oracle. And there's going to be a whole world where we don't know what it's talking about, and in some cases, it's starting to write its own code.
Right.
So we're completely out of the loop.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where we're getting science fiction-y.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, that's
just even managing that's going to be huge, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's control tower and everything we talked about there is.
100%.
And one thing we were talking to customers about yesterday was, it was interesting. 2 different companies, same use case.
Yeah.
Their C-suite wants ChatGPT, not autopilot or not Copilot.
Yep.
What are the risks there for them bringing in ChatGPT? What should they be looking out for?
So for me, the reason Copilot is so powerful is because it's embedded already in them. So if you remember the battle during the COVID, Zoom versus Teams.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And WebEx back in the day, but Zoom versus Teams were the biggest 2. And Zoom at the time, I thought had better features, right? What Eric Yuan did with that was pretty cool. If you know Zoom, he used to work at WebEx, Cisco, and he spun off and created Zoom. And Zoom was amazing. During COVID, it became a verb.
Yeah.
I'm going to Zoom.
Yeah, I'm going to Zoom.
I'm going to Zoom you. But then Teams got really got better, and eventually got to a point where it was almost as good as Zoom. And it's not worth paying a little bit extra for Zoom because you might as well just use Teams. It's already embedded.
Yeah.
Copilot is already starting with that angle. Let's go with Copilot. It's already embedded. But ChatGPT is richer. It has a richer backbone. The LMs are stronger, all that. And I think that's by design because Microsoft invested in OpenAI. So they're actually partners. But think about a Lexus and a Toyota.
Yeah.
The difference between an NX, and I used to work for Toyota 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
An NX and a RAV4 is because it has better sound system.
Yeah.
Has these little tweaks that you want a little bit better, but they both get you from A to B.
Yeah. Right.
So it really comes down to that.
And you could put the same guardrails on each.
You can still
a little bit more
enterprise.
I think Copilot's a little bit easier out of the box, so to speak, because it just knows about what it knows about. But you can with ChatGPT.
But it's just more work for the support organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it comes back to AI literacy. You got to train them on that.
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
You know?
And that's what I thought about with Agentic versus Generative. How do I say that?
Generative.
That's like, I think we got to start there is what, you know what I mean? At the foundation of what does that mean? So
Correct. And in building, I mean, if RL Canning starts really focusing more on, and I'm assuming you're doing it already, prompt engineering, blah, blah, because part of this upskilling is as an organization, how do you train them to be better users of the tool?
Yeah.
Right? And so
it's exciting.
The ability to do that and become a guild, like everyone comes to you because you're the best at doing this, I think goes such a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
I was really curious to get your take on AI bias that you talked about in your SWOT analysis, especially when we talk about all the amazing things that AI hopefully one day could do. You think about the data that you put into it affects what you get out of it. And you think about, groups that maybe there isn't as much data surrounding them historically, but AI might be using that. Like I think about like loan data or medical study data, right? So certain groups are left out of that to some degree.
Right.
How can companies address that, start to think about that? Or do you feel like that's enough top of mind for them right now when they're thinking about all the great things that they could be doing down the line?
That is a awesome question. Thanks for asking it. But there's a term called redlining way back in the days where you kind of crowd out certain individuals or communities. There's also a term called digital redlining where you do it from a digital lens. And when you think about certain things like maternity mortality deaths, Black women and women of color tend to have higher mortality deaths than white women and others. It's because they don't have the same access to healthcare. So that's one example. During COVID, which I know RL Canning helped us during the whole process, I was still at the state at the time, you guys were able to help us identify what communities needed PPE more. The data did not show that information. So the reason I bring this up is be aware that AI doesn't have all the answers, and bring in people or have people in the room that will say, hey, why not? Ask the 5 whys. Why does this work? Are they inclusive? Is it think about everything? Because AI is as biased as the internet. And if you trust the internet for everything, we have a big problem. Yeah. So I would really make sure that you really have the human in the loop and just question it, because it doesn't have it all correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say?
Great question.
Thanks. A phenomenal question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
One of the things that R.L. Canning's passionate about is obviously growing people's career. Yeah. And we do a lot in the service desk space. And we touched on it already, right? People are worried about their jobs getting replaced by AI. So how can we work with our team members to help to upskill them so that they can stay advanced to those new positions that are going to be created by those that are getting eliminated?
So the first thing I'll say is what you're doing today is perfect. You're talking about it. A lot of people kind of do the ostrich thing. Oh, well, it's not going to happen to me, so we'll be fine. And then a few years later, there's Xerox or Kodak, those companies that kind of just didn't think it was going to happen. The second thing I'll say is very important is Wayne Gretzky, and again, I'm not a hockey fan per se, but he says something that always resonates with me. Always go to where the puck is going, not where it's at. And I think what R.L. Canning will do, and I know is doing, is preparing itself for what's next as opposed to what is today. And so preparing your team, explaining to them what it looks like. And the most important thing I've always seen when I had a good service desk, because I was trying to move from a help desk to a service desk, so it's really more proactive, is really doing a next best action. Like really being a customer value proposition to the customer. The thing I always tell family members, like my son, for example, in the future, get a job where they want you in the office with them, because a lot of jobs could be done overseas. A lot of jobs could be commoditized. Make sure you're doing something that's adding value to the customer and they want you as a part of their team. So if there's an outage or something like that, are you anticipating the next outage? Are you really good at problem management? How's your change control? Like they cannot live without you. Like create that stickiness goes such a long way. And AI, I think, is an opportunity to just do that. So that's be proactive as much as possible. And I know when I worked with y'all back in the day at the state, you guys were really proactive in doing that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And that helps our teams grow too. And we're excited about the future. And that's why we are always pushing ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so as a salesperson, I'm speaking to customers about AI as it is here and here to stay. What are some key points to touch on that appeals to IT leaders like yourself that will draw them into, this discovery phase of AI?
For me, it's always talking, what are you trying to solve? Don't come in guns blazing with a couple AI tools and say, this will fix all your woes. It's not the elixir. It's not the Vicks Vapor Rub. It's not all that. It's not Robitussin.
Castor oil.
Or castor oil. But actually really hone in on what the problem statement is and say, hey, AI may or may not be a solution. Let's explore it together. I think that goes such a long way. And really talk about the POCs and then talk about other wins you've had in other areas, but don't overbake it. Like people could really see through, like you're just kind of making it up. And we're in a world right now where everything AI could actually tell them the truth about you. So be aware what AI says about you. And that's another thing I'll quickly say. AI yourself in your own company and really understand what they're doing research on you. So you could go into a room better prepared. Because a lot of times when I'm talking to a salesperson on the side, I'm saying, oh, hold on, I got a call from my
Claude.
From my Claude. So anyway, be aware of what the world is saying about you so you can be ready to defend it. I've seen people who couldn't defend what it was said on the internet and the meeting went south. So yeah, that's the best way.